So hello and welcome back. Welcome to the channel once again. We're here at Barcelona doing another one of these videos. Going to be taking part in tonight's session. It's not currently up and running just yet. We've got another 2 or 3 minutes. Keep refreshing the list, just waiting to see when the lobby's going to get reset. But I've had a number of races here today. Racing a number of different cars, and it doesn't seem to be that the BMW is any better than any of the other cars at the minute. I've had a good race with a Honda, a Porsche, and another BMW today at Barcelona, and they're definitely holding their own. I almost feel like I think the BMW is maybe a little bit weak. During the final sector especially, seemed to be slowing right down in the final sector. So fingers crossed tonight is a great race. I'll probably run this little intro just in the start to the qualifying session. I don't think I'm going to feature the first practice session. I'll just do the qualifying session and the race. So if you're going to sit tight and watch the rest of it, I'll probably narrate over the rest of the video. Just trying to talk and do these races at the same time is pretty difficult, because I am trying to be as competitive as I can be, to be honest, and I do find it hard talking to the camera and driving. I know some people are pretty good at it, but when I'm trying to represent myself as best I can, I don't think talking to the camera does me any favours. But I'll try and talk you through where I can, things that I'm doing maybe in my race. I know there was one thing I wanted to cover on my wheel. I'm still using quite an old firmware. I think it's driver 439. I think when the wheel starts up, I'll show a bit of footage when the wheel starts up so I get the figures right. So that'll be on screen about now, but the way the wheel's set up very much depends on what firmware that you're running. I know someone said that the new 450 firmware isn't very strong at all, and I'd just suggest going back to an older version of the firmware. If you can find it through the forums, the Fanatec forums, that would probably be the best place to start looking. But yeah, I'll cover more on that maybe another time, but let's get into the race and let's get on with qualifying and see where we can get up the leaderboard. Coming in, managed to get into P1 during this session. Whether people are just doing the tyres, I really don't know. Just ran a quick session. I think I'm going to reduce the rear wing just a tiny bit. Seem to be understeering it just a little bit through turn 1. So I'm going to obviously try and go out, do a quick qualifying session, just quickly run over the setup that I'm going to be using. Like I say, some stiff competition that I've had online with this setup today. Not sure whether it's the best of setups, but try and get a gap here. 26 drivers in the grid. Just go down there. A couple of people. SLR. Who else have we got in here? Courage. James Hunt. I think another Huddersfield guy. MCR 420. Let's get out there. It's all about trying to find a space. Cheers, man. So I've got my trusty fan running, the new wheel. Obviously it's the same as the old wheel really, so I'm pretty used to it. Hopefully going to do better on my start this time round. Coming through here, I was racing someone else in the Honda. and it seemed so quick through this section. So here we go then. It's usually the next lap that's quicker, so hopefully I get 2 fine laps. Not the best. Bit out of shape through there.
Well done, mate. Personal fastest lap.
Let's go for another one.
Yellow flag in sector 3. Yellow flag ahead, be careful.
Oh,
There's a slow car.
that was a good lap he's put in, whoever's put the lap in.
Slow car ahead.
Cheers, man.
Yellow flag in sector 1. Yellow flag, be careful. Well done, mate. This has been your personal best.
I'm happy with that. Still in the 143. What 43? Let's have a look at that. 143.9. And it's done a 143. So close, just in that middle sector. But yeah, pretty happy with the 143. I'm not going to split hairs about that. It's a few tenths. Still, you've got to do that every lap, I think. So pretty pleased with that. Some good lap times all the way down there. Should be a very close field. Especially in that middle sector. All the way through here, 1 second separating nearly 10 drivers. So even guys down the back end of the grid. Very close. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. A couple of plus 2s and plus 1s. But yeah, I saw GD Partick posting a good lap time earlier in the Ferrari, so Ferrari's obviously pretty strong here. So let's just quickly look over the setup we're going to be using then. Not the replay. I'll come back out of there. So yeah, I'd rather spend time just making sure I've got that. I think I was short by pretty short last time. I think I run a few extra litres. We're going to put 1 litre of fuel in the pit stop. Track temperature's getting a little bit warmer, but I think I was happy with the tyres the way they were. They might get a tiny bit more PSI in. Might just drop them 1 PSI all around. 64 litres of fuel. Just dropped that rear wing by 1, and I think the ride height by 2 millimeters for this session. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Cooper in the 88. I was looking earlier, if you press F3 on the keyboard from here, you can actually watch more of the replay footage. Does look really well hooked up, the Ferrari. Should be a good race. Just clipping the inside curve there. Just practicing a pit in. Yeah, it's going to be something like that. Just remember, as you get sort of near the billboards, as you come through there, definitely worth practicing a pit stop. I did a few pit stop runs earlier, so I'm pretty confident with that. and then it just brings you back into the car. So I've got voice chat muted. I think it's just easier for these races not to get sidetracked and into conversation and stuff. Half an hour session. Should be some good battles all through the field there, I think. Number 68 also doing a pit in lap. Definitely worth practicing that pit in, just figuring out how much speed you can carry into the pit lane. I think it's definitely a second gear corner, but very tentative as well. Pity it doesn't give you like a split grid so you can see everybody on the one page when it comes to a bigger lobby. 27 degrees, 22 air temperature, 2 times multiplier, so should finish at 6 PM the race track time. But yeah, if you are enjoying these videos, please do hit that subscribe button, leave a comment in the comment section. Always interested to hear what people are doing, what people think of the videos and whatnot, whether you're enjoying this aspect of the videos. So mandatory refuel. A minute 40 to just look over everything. 26 Celsius, so very similar track details. Try and get the tyres nice and warm. I'll pull the brake balance back, I think, all the way. 56.6 was what we're using. Just trying to get the rotation in the car with the preload so low, under coasting, just for the last sector. Definitely probably areas that could be better on the setup. The turning through some of the slow speed corners isn't great. Maybe just add a bit more toe, but not right now. I'd rather not make adjustments to my setup just before we're about to race. But obviously I'll try and sit here as long as I can, keep the tyres as warm as I can keep them before we get going.
30 seconds.
Do like the little 30-second reminders. Obviously we've got this whole session to get the tyres nice and warm, so it's not too bad.
20 seconds.
Not rushing. So just make sure I'm not changing any tyres. We're just going to do the pit stop. 56.6. I'm just going to change that brake balance all the way rearward. Get the rear tyres nice and warm. I don't think weaving gets heat into the tyres that much. So good evening and welcome to this race. Just coming on board for the commentary. This will be the first time that I'm really watching through from last night's racing. Just try and talk over where Jay is unable to talk because he's concentrating on driving. So just looking down at the tyres there, obviously we're trying to get the brake. So I've just brought the brake balance really rearward so I can warm up the rear tyres as well. Yeah, just as Jay was saying there, we're just trying to get the brake discs as hot as we can, so all that temperature then radiates out into the carcass of the tyre. You can see the PSI rising to 29, I think. Obviously very difficult to do individual tyres and get them all up to temperature, especially the front left tyre, which is the hottest tyre around the circuit. Obviously while you're driving you're generating far more heat, and the front left tyre really does get punished, which is why it's running at its lowest PSI really, because it's going to get more than the other fair share. Just want to get that front left tyre warm as well, but that does get the most heat. But yeah, a massive thank you to all the guys at XCL for putting together all these events. There's numerous events getting busier and busier on the website now. Events every night of the week pretty much. So you can make a donation on the website. Pretty easy just to use PayPal or any other kind of monetary donating mechanisms. But yeah, definitely worth. I'm just going to give them a chance to cool down now. Just dropping by and leaving a donation. I'm sure the guys work very hard to get all these lobbies and ratings and stuff like that all worked out very quickly. Definitely reckon that the website should be receiving some kind of some sponsorship sooner rather than later. Really is a great platform that they're doing. So just trying to get ahead then, as I'm going to mention shortly, really trying to keep ahead of this sort of green segment, so that I'm really ahead. So cooled right the way down. I can remember in the last race I was a long way behind, almost there as the race started. So as we're getting close, so I'm going to try and stay right at the front of this green. Cooperman in the Ferrari. We've got James Hunt just behind in the Audi. Be able to take a look at the leaders or the leaderboard in the MFD any second really. So away we go. A couple of issues there with the audio. Much better start. But yeah, you can see just pulling ahead there of the Ferrari, just on the left and right hand side there. We've got the Audi coming up the rear. Just pulling across, just trying to make that gap a little bit smaller. Not being too aggressive, but obviously trying to take turn one and get ahead. You can see Cooperman. I think that was probably a little bit aggressive from me, just moving into his braking zone, but James Hunt coming up in second place. Tried to just close the door a little bit. I think if Cooperman had have got into P1 there, that would have been him away so fast during this race. Really needed to get ahead into turn one. I'm really happy with having got that place. Definitely something I was lacking in the last race, losing out in the first corner, especially on the start. So really has worked out well practicing the starts a little bit more recently. So always very tentative in the first couple of laps, just trying to get your eye in, trying to get a feel for the car, levels of grip. Obviously we've still got very low tyre pressures, or I say very low, I guess the tyre temperatures aren't yet up to the best. Still feels like you're exploring where you've got grip in the car. First time driving with 64 litres of fuel on board, so just not wanting to put a foot wrong really. And not a very wide line into the last corners there. I've seen a couple of people taking a much wider line. Obviously it depends how much you can get the car right as you swing into that last series of corners. So just going through, obviously James Hunt just behind then, and we've got another Ferrari in third place. I was speaking to James after the race and he did say just wouldn't come down through the gears then. He did say that he did hang back a little bit. Obviously knowing the channel and a friend of the channel, he really didn't want to end up causing any collisions. First time racing together. We did speak just recently about the equipment that we're using. I'm sure he's also using either the direct drive Fanatec wheel or the 2.5 base. I'm sure he's using Fanatec. Again, I think Cooperman is actually using a 2.5 base as well. I'm sure we were discussing with his alter ego on YouTube a different username, but I did recognise, I'm sure it's Alberto Caldini or something like that, his real name, but he is a member of the Facebook group as well, so really nice to see a number of guys from the Facebook group frequenting the XCL websites. Really am looking forward to running in some of the higher up races once the rating system is getting better and there's more drivers running in a higher class. I think we're going to be starting to introduce weather and driver swaps possibly and all sorts of other things as the website progresses. So across the line then, very similar lap times,
just into the
3/10 between me and
still got a lot of
James.
fuel on board.
I'm sure at this stage, if we look at the track leaderboard, at the track map just on the left hand side there, we can see car 88. I'm sure he has already done his stop and is running in free air, so definitely one to look out for. He's definitely got very good pace. You can see at the minute I've got the purple lap time only just into the 144's mind. I'm sure Cooperman, having hit a 143.7 during qualifying, is very much capable of setting a faster lap. Obviously we're running a lot of fuel at the moment, which is definitely going to be impacting those lap times, but definitely one to look out for. These pit strategies are very much playing a good role in some kind of strategy within the game. And the BMW really does seem to struggle through this section. Obviously you can hear the traction control kicking in then, which is why I'm changing from 9 to 8. It just seems it's very torquey, the BMW, and there isn't the TC and TC1, so you can't really limit the amount of traction control as much as you can in other cars. It seems very limited through that final section. Definitely hearing it more on looking back at the videos.
So a couple of guys already pit stopped.
And you can see just across the line, very similar lap times between myself and James. But he is very much a figure in the rear view mirror, that's for sure. But yeah, going through, definitely through these sort of sections, it's like the braking zones in the BMW. I just see this figure in the rear view mirror catching up in the braking zones, and then it doesn't seem to disappear as much through the acceleration phase. So a couple of guys towards the back of the grid then, picking up stop and go 30-second penalties, probably with the green next to the names. They've done their pit stop and probably carried too much speed into the pit entry and got a drive-through penalty or a stop and go penalty for speeding in the pit lane. A very severe penalty, especially for a 30-minute race. You might as well call it last place altogether, really. But the tyre temperature is looking pretty good across the board, 27.7s. Yeah, definitely hearing that traction control, very limiting. Might be worth trying just sticking with TC8 through that last section. So just absolutely neck and neck lap
not
times.
the fastest overall lap.
44.6. So the pit window is pretty much open right from the start of the race, which I think is a good thing really, because it just allows people to run different strategies. like Cooperman has done right at the start of the race. Things didn't go too well for him into turn 1, and he's taken that chance to take a pit stop. Just coming down the start-finish straight, you can see him there, car 88.
Yeah, I think James is actually quicker.
I'd definitely like to have seen lap times closer to the 1:44 ones, to be honest, and I really do seem to be struggling to get anywhere near that during this race. Obviously you can see 1:44 sixes are pretty much as fast as I can get at the moment, and you can see he's a very dominant figure in the rear view mirror, especially through the third sector. So 1:44.4, and see what sort of lap time James is putting in as he comes across the line as well. Very similar lap to lap.
Someone set a good lap. Very good laps.
You can see there just down in the tyre icon as well that the front discs very much blue towards the end of the start-finish straight, and definitely a deciding factor on how I've set the car up to run them so open, just to try and cool the tyres down. This track really is punishing on the front tyres, and it always seems to be a very hot circuit. Obviously track temperatures I think are around 26 Celsius, 21 possibly air ambient temperature, but the whole idea of keeping the brake ducts slightly wider than usual and maybe cooling the brakes a little bit more is to also get some of that airflow around the tyres as well. So he closes right up on me there under braking and doesn't even run massively wide, to be honest. It's so much better under braking. Whether I've got the brake balance a little bit too far forward at 56.6 and we're losing out under braking. But you can hear it there, the traction control really is kicking in far too much. And you see him just drop back a little bit there, James. Must have had a little bit of an issue getting a little bit happy at the rear, I think, possibly. Or maybe he's just decided to drop back a little bit to see just how much pace he's got. Maybe bang in a fast lap and be right on my rear end again. Very focused, as you can see. Not talking at all. Always keeping an eye on that delta in the top left corner. I kind of want to see that fluctuate between green and red, literally the whole race really, throughout the lap, so that I know I'm very close to hitting the same delta of my fastest lap. I think I did try running traction control 8, and I'm not sure whether it's an aspect of my driving that I really need to work on, the implementation of the throttle pedal, whether I'm limiting my own lap times really by using so much traction control.
Maybe he's just dropped back a touch to show you've still got the same pace.
Exactly the same pace. It is scary to see lap after lap very similar lap times. But in scenarios like this, it really is hard for the following driver to make a pass with very similar lap times. You kind of really need to have that second or half a second in hand somewhere, or you're going to take a big lunge down the inside to make a pass. So just looking, we'll just try and keep track. The car 88's just over the start finish line as we're in that turn there. So just try and remember that for the next lap and see if he's very similar. Because he is running in relatively free air. He's got a car 85 that he's going to be coming up against very soon. So the thing about being in the lead is obviously I've got no cars ahead of me, and so I've got a very long spell really that I've got open air to run my lap times, and regardless really of whether he's got open air, he's certainly going to come across traffic quicker than myself, I think. But definitely something I was discussing again with James after the race is where really you should be thinking about putting in that pit stop, and it really does depend early on. So as we're starting to catch some traffic now in the race, really might be time to just come into the pit. As we're just discussing, James, or Jay should I say, choosing when to take that pit stop really does or is determined. Still don't know who else we might actually be racing. It really is determined. It's already pitted by sort of the amount of traffic that you're up against in the first couple of laps. If you find yourself out of position, say you qualified first, you have a terrible first lap and you end up in the middle of the pack, it'd be just compounding really, trying to make your way through the traffic, whereas you could just pit early, come out in free air and just start running some good laps. Hopefully people around you will pit earlier and get out of your way, whereas in this scenario I'm gradually catching the tail end, picking up some of the drivers. Certainly wouldn't think I'd be lapping anyone at this stage, but you're coming up on drivers that had already done their stops. So James is definitely still in the rear view mirror. Tyre pressure's still looking really healthy. And still hitting very close lap times, 1:44.6s. I think 1:44.4 was the fastest lap. So decided to come in early, carrying second gear through, braking at the board all the way down to first gear and making sure you're under 50 kilometers an hour before you go across the pit line. Get my pit stop done very early. So first time into the garage then, pit box, finding out where that pit box is. Just needed to be a tiny bit closer. I think it was like one, not the best, I forget what they're called, like one chevron just at the end of the bonnet to know where to stop.
Let's go, 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 go.
Relatively good stop, I think. Not the best on starting the engine as the car dropped down, but need to be back out. As you can see, car 88 just coming round the start finish line, so this is very much for position coming out of the pit. We've got maybe half the pit straight with the other Ferrari behind us, 13 minutes left of the race, and this is where it all comes alive really, where you're knowing who you're racing now once you've done your pit stop. So 4.2 seconds, 4.1 seconds behind Cooperman in the Ferrari 488 Evo. So very much needing to come back alive, get the tyres switched on again. He's already at full speed and probably been running on his tyres and got me very much at temperature since lap one. Ferrari driver. So very much in the know, very much keeping an eye on that leaderboard as well. I know now that I've got to keep a good pace throughout in order to win this race. So hopefully you're enjoying the content, and if you are, please do remember, just pause the video and hit that subscribe button. Leave a like as well if you can, and share the video with others. If you're sitting to watch these videos, you might be gleaning some information, learning, possibly you might be looking at doing some online racing yourself. Definitely one of the best games on console at the minute, without a doubt, for good quality
Definitely
racing.
not all over yet.
Even for all the newcomers to the game, I'm sure XCL run, I think it's possibly on a Tuesday evening, rookies only lobby for the newcomer drivers that are trying to get a handle on the game. Definitely looking forward to what we've got to come this year. Be very interesting to see what actually arrives April 19th on PC for the progression of the game. Links obviously in the description for the Facebook group that I sort of manage. Always very busy with other people in their leagues and other content providers. General topics about the game itself, help and advice. So you can see the gap between myself and Cooperman does seem to be going up and down. So he's not having it all his own way. I think he's probably pushing pretty hard. Oh, just out of shape.
Not the best.
Very deep. So 10 minutes to hold him off. A 1:45.1.
55
So only 2/10 there. Not too much to worry about if that was going to be the kind of pace between us. A 1/10 over each lap should be pretty comfortable. Still needing to push though. Obviously the tyres probably very much past their prime, but I'd still expect to be able to hit 144, mid 144s at this stage during the race. So I do enjoy watching these back and just talking through them. Really gives me a chance to look at a few things that are happening throughout the race, maybe build on my own strategies. Obviously listening, hearing that traction control, especially through this final sector, just coming off this corner as well. I tend to brake just before that 100-yard board. I certainly can't brake any later than that, and obviously trying to swap down to TC8 as soon as the car's kind of straightened up really. Not very much traction control engagement through that corner. Again here.
Oh, come on, Jay.
But very much limiting how quickly the power goes down there. And we've lost nearly a second on this
definitely
lap.
Isn't a slam dunk.
1:45.1 and
1:44 dead.
seconds faster at this stage of the
He
race.
is fast.
So very much, if we did it 1 second a lap at this point, we've got 8 minutes to go.
Where am I losing all that time?
He really is going to be on the back of the car very soon if that's the kind of pace we're keeping. Definitely don't want to be losing the race at this stage. Really does need to knuckle down and get into those 144s. very tricky corner. It always feels like you're running wide. So tyres not particularly looking like they're overheating at all. Really happy with how the tyres are going. So just not wanting to get the car oversteering too much, which is why I'm using TC9. It's just really trying to get the car slowed down there and get a good exit, much better, 4/10 quicker. So managing to keep that gap alive, still at 2.3 seconds, 1:44.7, 1:44.8. So definitely need to keep up that kind of speed. Definitely don't want to be seeing the 140s from Cooperman too often, 144s. Or especially the low ones, because I know I can't get anywhere near those kind of times. Also gives me a little bit of time while I'm watching back on these replays, just looking down the bottom right hand corner at the force feedback, the little graph that's bouncing around, just to see if we're getting any kind of clipping through the wheel, or whether we can increase the force feedback a tiny bit more. Obviously you don't want to be seeing it red too much, just tiny peaks, which I'm quite happy with. I know discussing on another one of the YouTube videos the other day about the wheel, talking to Glenn Hayes about force feedback and road effects. I've definitely not done anything with the force feedback at the minute, and that, I really, like I was mentioning, I think if it's not broke, don't fix it. The wheel still works fantastically, the 2.5 base, 8 Newton meters of torque. I don't really feel that there's any need to swap to a direct drive wheel until the base gives up the ghost, really. I'd probably send it back to get refurbished if it was possible. Oh, this is tough. The 2.5 base really does work well for console. So that lead down just below 2 seconds now, 1.8 seconds, 4 minutes left. P4. So obviously we've still got James Hunt, who's in P1 at the minute, but he's still yet to stop. So as much as we're running P2, still just a few drivers still yet to make the pit stops. So you've really got no idea at this phase whether you're actually racing a car that's ahead of you. You can only just keep putting in your best lap times. You can see he's got free traffic ahead of him. This is him just pulling in the pits. So James is just in the pits as we speak. It's such a long pit lane as well. If he's all the way down the end of the pit lane, you can see him slow moving on the track map. It's all coming alive in these last few minutes, really. You've got Cooperman dialing in, 1.1 seconds off him. You've got James still in the pit lane. He's done another good lap, I tell you that. So he's 144, just getting going again as well. I'm a sitting duck here. So top 3 drivers all within, looks like it's going to be 5 or 6 seconds on that last 2 laps. Ever so much concentration looking at that rear view mirror. Just trying to work out where he's quicker. just picking up the inside a little bit too much. Not wanting to make any errors. Carry as much speed through as I can because I know he's going to be better on the brakes. This braking zone, it kills me. Just trying to let the car roll through there really. Really does stall on the approach to the corner. Managed to get not too bad a run through there.
Right, you've just topped the last lap.
Still
Stay
3/10.
focused.
It was such a good feeling to hear that as well, because I think if we're running any more laps than one more lap, he's going to be all over the back of me. So looking in the rearview mirror there, and he's just running a little bit wide there, picking up all the dirt on them tyres. So that was a good feeling, just to see him running a little bit wide. Know he's pushing hard. Oh, just picking up that inside curb too much. Oh, he's so close. Really just need to focus on driving forward. Spend as little time in that rearview mirror as you can. This is probably do or die if he's going to come up the inside here. Just tried to come across a little bit earlier to close that door. Under acceleration is mighty off that corner, especially through here as well. Almost thinking to go on the outside maybe. Again, could you push it up the inside? Very deep. It could have got a really good exit just off the outer edge there. Coming out to the replay as we go across the line, it's that close after half an hour's racing. A fantastic race, really was, nice and close, and a great sight to see. A little bit of good race, man. Just the occasion, the top three drivers there, rolling away, just parking it up on the right hand side, left hand side. A great race, really good to be part of that. Whew, that was tough. Save highlights. Always good to look back on some of these good replays. So 2/200ths of a second after half an hour. God, what a race, guys. Again, just 6 seconds away, James. Torch Germany 20 seconds away. Definitely some quick drivers. A good race all round, really. Very interested to see putting those lap times together. 34.5 in the final sector. Probably would have been nice to have a look at my own lap times as well. But yeah, thumbs up, Jay. Well done, mate. Yeah, nice one, Richie. It's tough. Yeah, I wish I could add the audio there. I was tough at the front. I was definitely being caught hand over fist by Richie, Cooper. just congratulations.
Nearly a second.
I think he got pushed out a little bit at turn one and then decided to take his pit stop in the first lap. And then he could run on his own. I think Richie was just saying he was started down in 26th. So he's made a few places to finish in 19th place. I've moved a few places. I think he was then going on to do the other Zolder server. But I do like the one at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8 really fits
Well, the
in
Ferrari's
nicely.
definitely running good here. I've seen a few people in the Ferrari setting some good lap times, but he's really consistent. 144s.
Yeah, another mention to GD Partick that I've seen earlier, setting a 143.7,
Yeah, I thought that-
I think, in the Ferrari.
Yeah. I had a race with someone else here earlier as well, and he was in a Honda, and definitely in the last sector he was all over me.
So 34.5.
I think the Honda and probably the Ferrari's two of the best cars here, I think. Saying that, a Porsche was really close to me earlier as well, so very hard to differentiate between the cars. I thought the BMW was a little bit overpowered, to be honest. And then coming here in the BMW, it's definitely not its best circuit.
Definitely interested in trying out the Audi and the Ferrari here as well, just to see the difference
Green light,
in
go, go, go.
setups. So that's definitely something I might feature in another video.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you turn down the BOP for the BMW here, it'd be a sitting duck. But yeah, good racing, Richie. Yeah, catch you later, man.
Yeah, great to see everyone that's watching the videos.
So another good race.
Thanks again.
I can't really feature very much of it. You can barely even see me. Let's see if we've got a bit of the replay. Might get on within an hour. But yeah, really good battles all through the field there. A little bit aggressive, I think, probably from myself at the starting sequence. I was just looking at the radar and I could see I'd got a slightly better start. I've just tried to close the door a little bit, put a little bit of pressure across to tighten his line in, and at least we did avoid contact. But he got a little bit of a brush. He didn't get upset too much, and I guess like myself in the last race, he just took his pit stop at the end of this lap and then managed to run his own race, I guess. But James Hunt is definitely keeping me honest in the BMW, racing me there in the Audi. I think the Audi is pretty quick here, but I think I managed to just hold my own, I think. But a very tough field, especially at the front of the grid. But definitely through the last sector, the BMW really does struggle. I think more so in the braking zones, it seems to be. It seems to have quite a disadvantage through the braking zones. But yeah, in the darkness you can still see me. But yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for joining the channel, thanks for staying for the race. I see a few people there pitting on lap 3. So yeah, people using the lap, the pitting, the pit strategies quite cleverly, I think. A little bit of argy-bargy there. Oh, there's a couple of cars taking some damage back of the field. But it will be very interesting as the website builds and people start to get bronze, gold and silver just for the racing. The class of racing within each lobby should be really good. But yeah, until next time, in the darkness of my little room, ciao for now. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. Just wrapping up the video there.
just watching a few of these little replays, just saying thanks to all the guys that take part in the race. Thanks to the organisers at XCL for putting all these events together. And as always, if you've not subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, do all the other stuff, comments, whatever. Thanks for watching. Ciao for now.